In ancient China, there was a dynasty. It existed 289 years. Over 100 years, the emperor didn't have empress. This dynasty had 21 empresses, but only 9 women became the empress when they were alive. In this dynasty, most real empresses had a shorter life than their husbands, so only 3 of them had chance to become the empress daughter. In this dynasty, most empresses deeply involved in the political affairs. Do you know which this dynasty is? The answer is Tang Dynasty. In this video, let's see the stories of those empresses. Zhangsun Huanghou, the Empress Wende, was the actual first empress of Tang. Her husband, Li Shimin, known as the Emperor Taizong of Tang, was considered as one of the greatest emperors in ancient Chinese history. In 626, Xuanwu Gate incident happened. Li Shimin and his followers killed the crown prince Li Jiancheng and the prince Li Yuanji. 2 months later, Li Yuan voluntarily retired and passed the crown to Li Shimin. During Xuanwu Gate incident, the Empress Zhangsun wore armors and stood beside her husband. Taizong liked to discuss state affairs with Empress Zhangsun because she could provide proper solutions. The Empress Zhangsun wrote a book called Nuze to teach future emperors how to properly involve in political affairs. Unfortunately, the book disappeared in Song Dynasty. When the Empress Zhangsun was alive, she limited the powers of her own family, so her brother Zhangsun Wuji didn't play a major role in the early Taizong's time. In 636, the Empress Zhangsun passed away at 36. Taizong buried her in Zhaoling. 30 years later, Taizong passed away. He was buried with the Empress Zhangsun. It was the first time in ancient Chinese history the empress and the emperor were buried in the same room of the tomb. When Taizong passed away, his throne was passed to Li Zhi, known as the Emperor Gaozong. His first empress, Wang was from a top-rank traditional Han Chinese noble family. In the inner court, she always did what she wanted and didn't care Gaozong's feeling very much. In early age of Gaozong's time, the court was controlled by ministers from the traditional noble families. They firmly supported the Empress Wang. If the Empress Wang could give birth a son, Gaozong almost impossible to challenge the Empress Wang and the political power behind her. Unfortunately, the Empress Wang didn't have any kids, and she made a fatal mistake. To battle with Gaozong's consort Shu, she allowed Wu Zetian to be back to the inner court. Under the help of Wu Zetian, Gaozong got the political powers back and controlled the court. In 655, the Empress Wang was demoted, then was killed by Wu Zetian. The Emperor Gaozong's second empress was Wu Zetian. When Gaozong was alive, Wu Zetian already managed the court with Gaozong. After Gaozong passed away, Wu Zetian totally controlled the court as the empress daughter. In 690, Wu Zetian became the only female emperor of ancient Chinese history. Wu Zetian changed the Tang to Zhou, so Tang Dynasty temporarily finished. In 705, Wu Zetian passed away at 81. Before death, she abandoned the emperor title and got back her empress title, so she could be buried with Gaozhong in Qianling as the emperor and the empress, husband and wife. After Wu Zetian, the emperor Zhongzong inherited the throne. He promoted Wei Shi as his empress. In 684, Zhongzong first time became the emperor, but he only worked as the emperor for about 1 month, then was demoted. The Empress Wei accompanied him to spend the most difficult time. After Wu Zetian passed away, the Empress Wei deeply involved in managing the court. She wanted to be a female emperor, just like Wu Zetian. Unfortunately, she lacked the capability and lucky. In 710, the Empress Wei and Princess Anle poisoned Zhongzong. Then the Empress Wei controlled the court as the emperor's daughter. 13 days later, Princess Taiping and Li Longji conquered Imperial Palace and killed the Empress Wei and Princess Anle. When Ruizhong first time became the emperor, he had an empress Liu Shi, who was killed by Wu Zetian. In 710, when Ruizhong second time became the emperor, he didn't have empress. He worked as the emperor for 2 years, then retired. Li Longji inherited the throne. He promoted his wife Wang as the empress. She was married with Xuanzong when he was a poor prince. They spent a difficult time together. The Empress Wang was pretty and had great personalities, but she couldn't give birth any kids for Xuanzong. After Xuanzong became the emperor, he was attracted by other young pretty consorts. This gave the Empress Wang many pleasure, especially after the consort Hui appeared. The consort Hui was from Wu Zetian's family and gave birth several kids for Xuanzong. Gradually, Xuanzong wanted to abandon the Empress Wang. Under this high pressure, the Empress Wang had to use witchcraft to help her get pregnant, which seriously obeyed the inner court rules. In 724, someone discovered Empress Wang to Xuanzong. Xuanzong demoted the Empress Wang. 3 months after demotion, the Empress Wang passed away. In late of Xuanzong's time, An Lushan rebellion happened. In 756, Li Heng self-crowned to the emperor. During the rebellion, his concubine Zhang Shi protected him several times. So he first promoted Zhang Shi to the consort Shu. 2 years later, the consort Shu was promoted to the empress. She was another woman who wanted to become the female emperor. The Empress Zhang falsely accused Prince Jianning secretly planned to kill the crown prince. Shu Zong believed and killed Prince Jianning. Then the Empress Zhang wanted to replace the crown prince Li Yu using her biological son, but failed. In 762, the Empress Zhang was killed by eunuch. Shu Zhong was scared to die. Then Li Yu became the emperor. He demoted the Empress Zhang under government officers' request. Li Yu, the Emperor Daizong of Tang, worked as the emperor for 17 years and didn't promote an empress. His throne was inherited by Dezong. Dezong only promoted his favorite woman Wang to the consort Shu when he became the emperor. In 768, the consort Shu was hopelessly sick. To comfort her, Dezong promoted consort Shu to the empress. 3 days later, the empress passed away. After Dezong, Tang Empress didn't have empress for about 100 years, until the Emperor Zhaozong of Tang, who was the second last emperor of Tang. Tang Dynasty had the last empress He Shi. She became the empress twice, and the empress daughter twice. In 905, the Empress He was killed by Zhu Wen. In the same year, Zhu Wen forced the Emperor Ai of Tang voluntarily retired, and the Tang Dynasty finished. Thank you for watching this video. See you soon.